A president who trusted the law discovers a judge selling justice in the shadows. The conspiracy reaches into the highest offices, and Ibrahim Traoré must risk everything to expose a system designed to protect the corrupt. By the time the truth comes out, no one in power will feel safe again. Before we dive in, what time are you listening, and where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. Please like and subscribe to join the Ibrahim Traoré family. Ibrahim Traoré sits in the back corner of a courtroom in Ouagadougou, watching a case that should have been simple. A farmer accused of stealing government funds stands trembling before the judge. The evidence is weak, almost non-existent, but the judge barely looks at the papers. The prosecution presents documents that seem fabricated, timestamps that do not match, witness statements that contradict each other. The ruling comes fast. Guilty. 20 years. The farmer collapses. His family screams from the gallery. Ibrahim watches the judge's face and sees nothing. No hesitation, no doubt, just cold efficiency. The judge stands, gathers his files, and exits through the side door before the family can even process what happened. Something feels wrong. Ibrahim has sat through many trials, but this one moves too quickly, too smoothly, like a machine built to crush rather than decide. The defense attorney looked defeated before the trial even began, as if he knew the outcome was already decided. Ibrahim notices the attorney does not protest the ruling, does not file an immediate appeal, just packs his briefcase and leaves. The judge dismisses the court and walks out through a side door before anyone can approach. Ibrahim stands and follows at a distance. He tells no one. He wears his soldier uniform but keeps his presence quiet, blending with the crowd leaving the courthouse. The judge walks to a vehicle parked in the rear lot and drives away without looking back. Ibrahim watches the direction he takes, memorizing the route. Ibrahim gets into another vehicle and follows from several cars behind. The route takes them out of the government district, away from the official buildings, into quieter streets where fewer people watch. The traffic thins as they move into older neighborhoods with narrow roads and buildings that have seen better decades. The judge does not drive like someone going home to rest after a day of work. The judge stops at a small office building with no sign on the front. The structure looks abandoned from the outside, windows dark, no indication of what business operates inside. Ibrahim parks down the street and waits. Minutes pass. Then a second vehicle arrives. A man in expensive attire steps out, carrying a briefcase. He enters the same building without knocking, as if expected. Ibrahim's instincts sharpen. He had planned to leave after confirming the judge went home. But this is not home. This is something else. He steps out and moves closer, staying in the shadows near the building's side wall. Through a window on the ground floor, he sees the judge and the man sitting across from each other at a small table. The room is barely furnished, just the table, 2 chairs, and a metal cabinet in the corner. The briefcase opens. Stacks of currency appear on the table. The judge counts them slowly, methodically, then nods. The man pulls out a folder and slides it across. The judge reads, signs a document, and hands it back. The entire exchange takes less than 5 minutes, practiced and efficient like a routine they have performed many times before. Ibrahim's chest tightens. He pulls out a small recording device from his pocket and aims it toward the window. The audio is faint, but the image is clear enough. Money exchanged. Documents signed. A deal made in secret. He records for 2 full minutes until the meeting shows signs of ending. The meeting ends quickly. The man leaves first, exiting through the front door and driving away in the same direction he came. The judge waits 5 minutes, checking his watch twice, then exits through the back. Ibrahim returns to his vehicle and drives back to the presidential office, his mind racing with what he just witnessed. He does not go home that night. Inside his office, the Burkina Faso flag stands tall behind his desk. Ibrahim sits and reviews the recording on his device. The footage is grainy but unmistakable. He watches it 3 times, studying every detail, every movement, trying to understand the full scope of what he witnessed. He knows what this means. A judge taking payment outside the courtroom is not just corruption. It is betrayal of every citizen who believes in justice. He decides to handle this carefully. He will not accuse without more proof. He contacts the Ministry of Justice the next morning and requests an audit of recent court cases, specifically those handled by this judge. He frames it as routine oversight, part of a broader review of judicial efficiency. The ministry official on the phone sounds surprised but agrees to compile the report within a week. The response comes back within 2 days, faster than expected. The audit report shows nothing unusual. Every case is logged correctly. Every sentence is within legal guidelines. The financial records are clean. But Ibrahim knows what he saw. He reads through the report line by line, searching for inconsistencies. But the paperwork is flawless, almost too perfect. He reads the report again, slowly this time, and notices something. 3 cases in the past month all involved land disputes. All 3 defendants were found guilty. All 3 lost their property to the same development company. The company name appears in each case file, listed as the plaintiff or the beneficiary of the ruling. Ibrahim writes the name down and circles it. Ibrahim pulls the files on those cases. The evidence in each one is thin, almost identical in structure. Witness testimonies that sound rehearsed, using similar phrases and language. Documents that appear too convenient, arriving at the last moment to seal the verdict. He cross-references the company name and finds it registered offshore with no clear ownership. The registration lists a foreign address in a country known for banking secrecy. The pattern is undeniable now. Someone is using the courts to steal land, and the judge is the instrument. But who is behind the company? Ibrahim assigns a trusted investigator to trace the ownership quietly, without alerting anyone in the ministry. He chooses a man who has worked with him since the early days, someone whose loyalty has been tested and proven. Days pass. The investigator returns with a name, but it is hidden behind layers of shell companies and foreign accounts. The trail leads to a powerful businessman with connections to senior officials. Ibrahim recognizes the name immediately. This man has attended state functions, donated to public projects, and positioned himself as a patriot. His face appears in newspapers standing next to ministers and diplomats. This man has attended state functions, donated to public projects, and positioned himself as a patriot. But beneath the surface, he is building an empire on stolen land, using the courts as his weapon. Ibrahim requests more information on the businessman's activities over the past 5 years. The investigator returns with financial records showing dozens of property acquisitions, all following court rulings, all involving the same judge. Ibrahim knows he cannot move openly yet. If he confronts the judge or the businessman now, they will destroy the evidence and disappear behind legal protections. He needs something stronger, something that cannot be denied. He needs to catch them in the act again, with multiple witnesses, with documentation that cannot be dismissed as coincidence. He decides to follow the judge again. This time, he brings a small team, 2 soldiers he trusts completely, and instructs them to document everything from multiple angles. They wait near the courthouse at the end of another trial. The judge handles a case involving a small business owner accused of fraud. The evidence is circumstantial, but the judge rules swiftly. Guilty. The business is seized. The judge leaves at the same time, takes the same route, and stops at the same unmarked building. But this time, 3 other vehicles arrive within minutes of each other. More men enter, all carrying briefcases. This is not a single transaction. This is a network. Ibrahim positions his team around the building, each with a clear view of the entrance and windows. Ibrahim's team records everything. The meetings last over an hour. When the men leave, Ibrahim's investigators follow each vehicle separately. One goes to a ministry building, parking in the reserved section near the main entrance. Another to a private estate outside the city, surrounded by high walls and security. The third to a foreign embassy, entering through a side gate meant for staff. The scope of the conspiracy expands in Ibrahim's mind. This is not just one corrupt judge. This is a coordinated system involving officials, foreign interests, and legal cover that reaches into the highest levels. He counts at least 7 people directly involved, and he suspects there are more he has not identified yet. He returns to his office and locks the door. He reviews all the footage and documents collected over the past 2 weeks. He realizes that exposing this will not be simple. The people involved have power, influence, and the ability to retaliate. They have connections that span across government departments and international borders. They have resources to fight back in ways he cannot fully predict. But then he remembers the farmer who collapsed in the courtroom. He thinks of the families who lost their land, their homes, their futures because someone decided their suffering was profitable. He He thinks of the business owner whose life's work was stolen with a single ruling. These people have no one else to fight for them. Ibrahim makes a decision. He will not use official channels anymore. They are compromised. Instead, he will build an independent case, present it directly to the public, and let the pressure force accountability. He knows this approach is risky, that it bypasses the normal procedures, but he also knows those procedures are exactly what the conspirators are using to protect themselves. He contacts a few journalists he trusts, ones who have reported on corruption before and survived the backlash. He arranges a private meeting in a secure location, a small restaurant in the village of Cumbia, far from the capital where fewer eyes watch. He chooses this location because it is remote enough to avoid surveillance, but accessible enough that the meeting will not seem suspicious. The meeting happens after dark. Ibrahim shows them the recordings, the financial trails, the pattern of stolen land. The journalists are silent as they watch. When the footage ends, one of them asks if Ibrahim understands the risk. He explains that people who have exposed this level of corruption before have faced serious consequences, some losing their careers, others facing worse. Ibrahim nods. He knows that exposing this will make enemies of powerful people, but he also knows that silence is worse. The journalists agree to investigate further and publish when the evidence is complete. They ask for 2 weeks to verify the information independently, to build a case that cannot be dismissed as politically motivated. Over the next week, Ibrahim continues his routine as president, attending meetings, signing documents, appearing at public events. But in the background, the investigation deepens. The journalists uncover more cases, more victims, more connections. They find court records that were altered after the fact, financial transfers that coincide perfectly with ruling dates, and a pattern that goes back 3 years. They interview victims who were too afraid to speak before. One woman describes how she lost her family farm after a court ruled she had forged the deed, even though her family had worked that land for generations. Another man explains how his construction company was seized after a single accusation, with no opportunity to defend himself properly. The stories are heartbreaking and nearly identical in structure. Then something changes. One of the investigators on Ibrahim's team goes missing. He was supposed to report in the morning, but never arrives. His residence is empty. His communication devices are turned off. His neighbors say they saw vehicles outside his apartment late at night, but no one knows who they were or what happened. Ibrahim feels the cold grip of realization. Someone knows. Someone is watching. The conspiracy has eyes inside his operation. He immediately reviews who knew about the investigation, trying to identify where the leak might have occurred. The circle was small, but clearly not small enough. He pulls the remaining team members into a secure room and tells them to stop all external communication. He checks his own office for surveillance devices and finds 2 hidden microphones planted behind furniture. One is behind a bookshelf, the other under his desk. Both are sophisticated, small enough to be nearly invisible, the kind used by intelligence services. The enemy is closer than he thought. They have been listening. They know his plan. And now they are moving to stop him. Ibrahim removes the devices and crushes them under his boot. He cannot trust the usual security protocols anymore. He realizes that even his protective detail might be compromised. He reaches out to the journalists through a coded message and warns them to go silent until further notice. That night, Ibrahim receives a message on a secure line. It is from an unknown number. The message is simple: stop digging, or more people disappear. There is no signature, no indication of who sent it, but the thread is clear. Ibrahim stares at the message for a long moment, then deletes it without responding. Ibrahim does not respond. He knows responding would only confirm they have his attention. Instead, he accelerates the plan. He instructs the journalists to publish everything they have within 48 hours, even if the investigation is not complete. Better to release partial truth now than risk losing everything. The journalists protest, saying they need more time to verify certain details, but Ibrahim insists. But the next morning, one of the journalists calls. His office was raided during the night. All his files, all his evidence, taken by men claiming to be from the National Security Division. The other journalist reports the same. Both raids happened within an hour of each other, coordinated and executed with precision. The men showed official identification and search warrants signed by a senior judge. Everything is gone. Months of work erased in a single coordinated strike. Ibrahim sits in his office, staring at the Burkina Faso flag behind his desk, and realizes the enemy is not just powerful. They are embedded in the system itself. They have the authority to use state resources to protect their interests. They can operate openly, under the cover of law, and no one can stop them through normal channels. He has one option left. He still has the original recordings on his personal device, the ones he made during the first night he followed the judge. If he releases them directly, without intermediaries, the public will see the truth before it can be buried. But doing so will expose him as the source. It will make him a direct target, and it will ignite a war within the government. Ibrahim weighs the cost. He thinks of his responsibility as president, his duty to protect the people, and the promise he made when he took office. He opens his device and prepares to upload the footage to every major platform simultaneously. He writes a brief statement explaining what he witnessed and why he is releasing the information. He reads it 3 times, making sure every word is precise. Just as he is about to press send, his office door opens. A senior official from the Ministry of Justice enters, unannounced. He closes the door behind him and stands in front of Ibrahim's desk. The official's face is calm, almost friendly, but his presence here at this moment is not coincidental. The official speaks calmly. He says there are forces in the country who believe Ibrahim is overstepping his authority. He suggests that certain investigations should be left to the proper departments. He implies that continuing this path will destabilize the government. He uses words like balance, procedure, and institutional respect. He never directly threatens, but the message is clear. Ibrahim listens without interrupting. When the official finishes, Ibrahim asks a simple question. "Who sent you?" The official hesitates, glancing toward the door as if considering whether to answer. His hesitation reveals more than words could. Finally, he admits he was asked to deliver the message by someone high in the administration. He does not name the person, but his discomfort reveals the truth. The official hesitates, then admits he was asked to deliver the message by someone high in the administration. He does not name the person, but his discomfort reveals the truth. The pressure is coming from within Ibrahim's own government. Ibrahim thanks the official and asks him to leave. The moment the door closes, Ibrahim presses send. The footage uploads to multiple platforms at once. Within minutes, it begins spreading across social media, news sites, and public forums. The algorithm picks it up quickly. Shares multiply. Comments flood in. People record the video on their devices and send it to friends and family. Within an hour, millions have seen it. The video shows the judge receiving money. It shows the documents being signed. It shows the network of vehicles arriving at the unmarked building. And it includes a brief statement from Ibrahim, explaining what he witnessed and why he chose to act. His voice is steady, factual, without anger or emotion. He simply presents what he saw and asks the people to judge for themselves. The reaction is immediate. Citizens flood the streets demanding answers. News outlets replay the footage continuously. The judge's name trends nationwide. Calls for his arrest echo from every corner. Hashtags demanding justice spread faster than anything Ibrahim has seen before. People organize protests in every major city within hours. But the backlash comes just as fast. Officials close to the businessman release statements denying the allegations. They claim the footage is manipulated, taken out of context, part of a political attack. They accuse Ibrahim of abusing his power. They suggest he is trying to settle personal scores or distract from other issues. State media outlets that are controlled by certain interests begin running counter-narratives. The Ministry of Justice announces an internal investigation, but the announcement feels hollow, designed to stall rather than act. Ibrahim knows they are buying time to construct a defense to protect the people involved. The statement uses vague language about due process and presumption of innocence, framing Ibrahim's evidence as unverified accusations that require lengthy examination. He cannot let them succeed. He holds a press conference the next day, open to all media, and presents additional evidence his team managed to secure before the raid. Bank records showing transfers from the offshore company to accounts linked to the judge. Testimony from victims who lost their land. Patterns that cannot be explained away. He has prepared physical copies of everything, distributing them to journalists as he speaks. The press conference is broadcast live. Millions watch as Ibrahim lays out the case piece by piece, calmly, methodically, without emotion. He does not accuse anyone beyond what the evidence shows. He simply asks the public to decide. He presents a timeline showing how land seizures increased dramatically after this judge was appointed. He shows financial records proving the offshore company profited massively from every ruling. He displays photographs of families who lost everything, their homes demolished, their farms taken, their businesses closed. He reads their names aloud, one by one, giving faces and voices to the statistics. The room is silent except for his voice. Journalists who came expecting political theater find themselves witnessing something far more serious. By the end of the conference, the pressure on the government is overwhelming. Protests grow larger. Citizens demand the judge be arrested immediately. Parliament calls for an emergency session. Opposition parties, who rarely agree on anything, unite in calling for accountability. Even members of Ibrahim's own administration begin distancing themselves from the accused officials. That evening, security forces arrive at the judge's residence. He is taken into custody without resistance. The businessman behind the offshore company flees the country on a private flight, but his assets are frozen by emergency presidential order. Several officials connected to the conspiracy resign to avoid investigation. Their resignations come in rapid succession, each one trying to get ahead of the scandal. The system that protected them collapses in days. What seemed impossible a week ago is now undeniable. The truth is public, the guilty are exposed, and the people are watching. The judge's arrest is broadcast on national television. His face, once commanding respect in courtrooms, now shows defeat and fear as he is led away. Ibrahim returns to his office and sits quietly. The Burkina Faso flag behind him feels heavier now, a reminder of what he represents and what he must continue to defend. He receives a call from the head of the Judicial Commission, promising a full review of all cases handled by the arrested judge over the past 5 years. It is a small victory, but an important one. He receives messages from citizens across the country, thanking him, sharing their own stories of injustice, asking for help. He realizes this victory is not the end. It is only the beginning of a longer fight. Each message represents another case, another victim, another layer of corruption that still needs to be addressed. One message stands out. It is from the farmer who was sentenced to 20 years, the one whose case Ibrahim witnessed in the courtroom. The farmer writes that his conviction has been suspended pending review. His family is hopeful for the first time since the trial. He thanks Ibrahim for seeing what others chose to ignore. Weeks later, the investigation expands beyond the single judge. Prosecutors uncover a network involving 12 judges across 4 regions, all participating in the same scheme. The offshore company's records, seized during the asset freeze, reveal payments totaling millions over 3 years. The scheme affected over 200 families. Parliament passes emergency legislation allowing victims to petition for case reviews. A special tribunal is established to handle the volume of appeals. The process is slow, but it is happening. Families begin reclaiming their land. Businesses start reopening. The system, damaged but not destroyed, begins to repair itself. Ibrahim visits the village of Cumbia again, the same place where he met the journalists. He sits in a small restaurant and eats with ordinary people who do not recognize him at first. When they do, they thank him quietly, without ceremony. There is no celebration, just quiet gratitude and relief. One of them, an older farmer, tells Ibrahim that his son was one of the victims who lost land in the court scheme. He says the family has hope now, something they did not have before. The son is working to reclaim the property through the new tribunal. The process will take time, but at least there is a path forward. Ibrahim listens and realizes why he took the risk. Justice is not just about punishing the guilty. It is about restoring hope to those who lost it. It is about proving that power can be challenged, that truth can prevail, and that ordinary citizens matter more than corrupt elites. But Ibrahim also knows the fight is far from over. The arrested judge and businessman are only symptoms of a larger disease. There are others, still operating, still protected by positions and connections. Some have learned from this exposure and become more careful. Others are watching, calculating whether the risk is still worth the reward. In the presidential office, Ibrahim meets with his security team. The missing investigator has still not been found. His family demands answers. Ibrahim promises them he will not stop searching. He assigns new resources to the case, knowing that finding the truth about what happened to that man is as important as everything else he has done. The Burkina Faso flag hangs behind him as he signs new directives strengthening judicial oversight and creating independent review boards. These are small steps, reforms that will take years to implement fully, but they are necessary. Corruption is not defeated in a single battle. It is worn down through persistent, unglamorous work. Ibrahim receives a report that 2 more officials have been arrested in connection with the scheme. They were lower-level participants, enforcers who made sure properties were transferred smoothly after court rulings. Their arrests lead to more evidence, more connections, more names. The investigation continues to grow. He also receives warnings. Anonymous messages telling him to stop. Letters left at the presidential office suggesting that certain powerful people are unhappy. He does not respond to any of them. He has learned that responding gives the threats power. Instead, he continues working, knowing that visibility is his best protection. One afternoon, Ibrahim visits a school in Ouagadougou. The students ask him questions about leadership and courage. One young girl asks how he knew the right thing to do when everyone around him was saying something different. Ibrahim pauses before answering. He tells her that the right thing is not always clear, but doing nothing when you see injustice is always wrong. The girl nods, seeming to understand. The teacher thanks Ibrahim for coming. As he leaves, he notices the Burkina Faso flag painted on the school's wall, faded but still visible. He thinks about what that flag represents and what it should represent. The gap between the two is what drives him. Months pass. The special tribunal issues its first round of rulings. 43 families have their land returned. 18 businesses are reopened under their original owners. The farmer from the first trial has his conviction overturned. He is released and reunited with his family. The moment is covered by news outlets across the country. Ibrahim does not attend the release. He watches from his office, seeing the farmer embrace his children on the steps of the courthouse. That image, more than any speech or policy, represents what he has been fighting for. It is not abstract justice or political points. It is real people getting their lives back. But victory has costs. 3 members of Ibrahim's administration have resigned, claiming they can no longer work under his methods. They argue he has damaged institutional trust, that he has made it harder for government to function. Ibrahim accepts their resignations without trying to change their minds. He knows that what he did was necessary, even if it was not popular among everyone. The international community reacts with mixed responses. Some nations praise his anti-corruption efforts and offer support for judicial reforms. Others express concern about the methods used, questioning whether proper procedures were followed. A few foreign investors pulled back, nervous about stability. Ibrahim understands their concerns but refuses to apologize for doing what was right. In a television interview, a journalist asks Ibrahim if he regrets releasing the footage the way he did. Ibrahim answers honestly. He says he wishes the system had worked the way it was supposed to, that he could have gone through proper channels and achieved the same result. But when the system itself is corrupted, waiting for permission to expose that corruption only protects the guilty. The interview is replayed across the country. Some praise his honesty. Others criticize what they see as justification for bypassing rules. Ibrahim does not try to win over his critics. He understands that leadership sometimes means making decisions that not everyone will support and living with the consequences of those decisions. The businessman who fled the country is eventually arrested in another nation after his assets were frozen globally. Extradition proceedings begin. It will take months, possibly years, but he will face trial. His capture sends a message that running is not a permanent solution, that justice may be slow, but it does not forget. The judge, still in custody, agrees to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. He provides testimony about others involved in the scheme, including government officials who facilitated the operation. His testimony leads to 6 more arrests. Each arrest uncovers another layer of the conspiracy, revealing just how deep the corruption ran. Ibrahim reads the reports each day, learning more about how the system was manipulated. The scheme was sophisticated, designed to appear legal on the surface while operating as organized theft underneath. The judge was not the architect, just a tool. The real architects were businessmen and politicians who understood how to exploit legal mechanisms for personal gain. One evening, Ibrahim sits alone in his office after everyone else has gone home. The Burkina Faso flag is illuminated by a single lamp. He thinks about the path that led him here, from following a judge on instinct to dismantling a national conspiracy. He wonders how many other schemes like this exist, hidden in plain sight, protected by complexity and official legitimacy. He knows he cannot catch them all. He knows that even now, people are finding new ways to steal from citizens, new loopholes to exploit, new protections to hide behind. But he also knows that doing nothing guarantees they will succeed. Fighting back, even when the odds are against you, at least gives hope a chance. Ibrahim opens his desk drawer and pulls out a folder containing letters from victims whose cases are still pending. He reads through them, each one a reminder of why this work matters. A mother whose home was taken while she was in the hospital. A teacher who lost his family's land to a development project that never materialized. A shopkeeper whose business was destroyed by a ruling based on false testimony. These letters fuel his determination. They remind him that behind every statistic, every case number, every legal document, there are real people suffering real consequences. And those people deserve someone who will fight for them, even when it is difficult, even when it is dangerous. The next morning, Ibrahim announces a new initiative to digitize all court records and make them publicly accessible. Transparency, he explains in a public address, is the enemy of corruption. When citizens can see how decisions are made, when processes are visible and reviewable, it becomes harder to hide wrongdoing. Some judges and officials oppose the measure, arguing it violates privacy and creates security risks. Ibrahim pushes forward anyway. He allocates resources to scan decades of paper records and upload them to a public database. It is a massive undertaking that will take years to complete, but he knows it is necessary. Future schemes will be harder to execute when every ruling is available for public scrutiny. He also establishes a hotline for citizens to report judicial corruption anonymously. Within the first week, it receives over 3,000 calls. Most are legitimate complaints. Some are personal grievances that do not constitute corruption, but dozens reveal patterns that warrant investigation. Ibrahim assigns teams to follow up on the most serious reports. Weeks turn into months. The reforms begin taking shape. New oversight mechanisms are established. Training programs for judges emphasize ethics and accountability. Penalties for proven corruption are strengthened. These are not dramatic changes, but they create a foundation for long-term improvement. Ibrahim knows that cultural change takes time. You cannot eliminate corruption with a single action or even 100 actions. You have to change the systems that allow it to flourish, and you have to change the expectations that make people believe nothing will ever improve. Both take sustained effort and unwavering commitment. One day, Ibrahim receives word that the missing investigator's body has been found. He was killed shortly after his disappearance, his death made to look like an accident. The discovery devastates his family and shocks the nation. Ibrahim attends the funeral personally, standing with the family as they mourn. He promises them that the people responsible will be found and held accountable. The investigation into the murder reveals connections to the same conspiracy. The investigator was killed because he uncovered evidence linking senior officials to the land theft scheme. His death was meant to be a warning, a message that some truths are too dangerous to expose. Instead, it becomes the catalyst for even deeper investigation. 3 more officials are arrested in connection with the murder. Their arrests lead to revelations about other crimes, other schemes, other victims. The web of corruption proves larger and more complex than anyone imagined. Ibrahim realizes that what he uncovered with the judge was just one operation among many. But each exposure weakens the system that protected these crimes. Each arrest makes the next investigation easier. Each conviction sends a message that power is not absolute, that accountability is possible. The process is slow and difficult, but it is moving forward. Years from now, Ibrahim knows, people will debate whether his methods were justified. They will argue about whether he overstepped his authority, whether the ends justified the means, whether stability was worth the cost of justice. He accepts that debate is healthy and necessary in any functioning system. But he also knows what would have happened if he had done nothing. The farmer would have stayed in prison. The families would have remained landless. The businessman and corrupt judge would have continued stealing, emboldened by the knowledge that no one would stop them. The system would have protected itself while failing the people it was meant to serve. Ibrahim visits the village of Cumbia one final time before the year ends. He sits in the same small restaurant, eating the same simple meal. The owner recognizes him now and tries to refuse payment. Ibrahim insists, placing currency on the table and thanking the owner for the meal. These small gestures of normalcy ground him, reminding him that he serves regular people, not institutions or abstractions. As he prepares to leave, a young man approaches. He introduces himself as the son of one of the victims whose land was returned. He is studying law now, he says, inspired by what Ibrahim did. He wants to become a judge, to help ensure the system works the way it should. Ibrahim shakes his hand and tells him the country needs people like him. That conversation stays with Ibrahim as he returns to the capital. It represents something important, a shift in how young people view justice and accountability. They are seeing that change is possible, that corruption is not inevitable, that standing up matters. If enough people believe that, the culture itself will change over time. In his office, beneath the Burkina Faso flag, Ibrahim reviews the latest progress reports. The judicial reforms are ahead of schedule. The digital records project has completed its pilot phase. The corruption hotline has led to 47 investigations. The numbers are encouraging, but he knows they only tell part of the story. The real measure of success will be whether, years from now, citizens trust their courts more than they do today. Whether families can seek justice without fear. Whether judges can rule fairly without pressure. Whether the powerful face the same accountability as everyone else. These changes cannot be measured in months or even years. They require generations of sustained effort. Ibrahim thinks about the path ahead. There will be more battles, more conspiracies to uncover, more people who will try to stop him. But there will also be more victories, more families helped, more young people inspired to fight for what is right. The balance between the two will determine the country's future. When systems are built to protect the powerful, it takes courage to break them. When corruption hides behind legitimacy, it takes someone willing to lose everything to expose it. And when the people have no voice, it takes a leader who remembers that power is not a privilege but a responsibility. Justice is not about dramatic gestures or single victories. It is about showing up every day, doing the hard work, and never accepting that things cannot change. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.